You know those moments when things just don't go according to plan?
Oh, definitely. We've all been there.
That project you poured your energy into and it just didn't land?
Or that difficult conversation that went completely sideways.
Yeah. The personal goal you missed, even when you felt like you did everything right? We all face those setbacks, those moments that feel like losses.
Like definitive proof that we fell short somehow.
And in those moments, the natural human instinct is often to feel that sting, isn't it?
Totally. To feel discouraged, maybe even ashamed.
You kind of want to pull back, retreat, or sometimes
Look for someone or something else to blame. Yeah, that's common.
it's uncomfortable territory. It really is.
But what if those challenging moments weren't actually dead ends?
What if they were something else entirely?
Like doorways, maybe.
Exactly. Opportunities for genuine growth disguised as problems. That's the central question guiding our conversation today.
How do we navigate that real discomfort of not winning, of facing setbacks?
And turn those experiences into something truly valuable, something that propels us forward instead of holding us back.
And to help us explore this, we're drawing significant insight from a particular book. Sometimes You Win, Sometimes You Learn by John C. Maxwell.
Right. And this isn't just a book of platitudes, is it?
No, not at all. It offers a really thoughtful framework for building resilience, practicing meaningful reflection.
And making a lifelong commitment to learning, which feels especially crucial in today's world.
Absolutely. Think about it. We under constant performance pressure, navigating rapid change.
Living with pervasive uncertainty.
Yeah. So having a map for navigating the inevitable moments when things go wrong is indispensable.
Absolutely. This book tackles a core problem that I think resonates deeply right now.
Which is this?
The intense, often paralyzing negative stigma we attach to what we label as failure in our culture.
Uh-huh. That fear of failure.
It's the stigma that makes people so afraid to take necessary risks, that causes them to give up way too soon when they hit the first obstacle.
Or worse, to internalize defeat so deeply that it stops them in their tracks.
And the powerful solution the book proposes isn't about avoiding difficulty, is it?
Not at all. It's about fundamentally shifting your mindset.
How so?
It's about consciously choosing a learning-centered perspective
Okay.
and then actively cultivating specific traits, specific ways of being and thinking.
That genuinely enable you to transform adversity, those moments of not winning.
Exactly. Turn them into powerful opportunities for advancement, both personally and professionally.
It really is a powerful recalibration of how we approach life's inevitable challenges.
It is.
Okay, let's really get into this book and see what it teaches us about transforming those moments of loss.
Sounds good.
The book identifies 11 core traits or perspectives that are absolutely key to this kind of transformation.
11. That's quite a few.
It is. We won't cover every single one in exhaustive detail, but we'll explore some of the most compelling ones here.
Okay, where do we start?
Starting with what the book identifies as the very spirit, the necessary foundation of all learning.
And that spirit is humility.
Humility. Now, in our current cultural landscape, that feels a bit countercultural, doesn't it?
It really does. With all the personal branding, self-promotion.
Projecting an image of effortless, constant success seems to be the dominant mode.
So embracing humility can feel almost like a weakness.
Right. But the book makes a profound and necessary case that humility is the absolute foundational mindset required for any meaningful learning to occur.
Especially, crucially, when life doesn't go exactly according to your plan.
Explain that a bit more.
Well, think about it. When a project bombs, when you face harsh rejection, or admit you made a genuinely bad decision,
What's the first reaction?
the almost automatic, deeply ingrained human response is often to protect your ego at all costs.
That protective shield just slams down instantly.
Precisely. You defend your self-image, you look for external factors, you start building a case for why it wasn't really your fault.
It's a natural defense mechanism.
It is. But the book asserts, quite powerfully, that genuine growth, the kind that actually changes you at a fundamental level,
But only begins
only begins the moment you are willing to admit you don't, in fact, possess all the answers.
when you can acknowledge you were wrong or just didn't have enough information or skill at that time.
Exactly.
Yeah.
It's that willingness to be taught, to be open, to be corrected.
So humility in this context isn't about being meek or engaging in false modesty.
No, it's about creating the necessary internal space within yourself.
Space for what?
Space for curiosity, space for honestly receiving feedback, and space for allowing real, sometimes uncomfortable transformation to happen.
And in a world that demands constant adaptation just to keep up.
Creating that space is absolutely essential for survival and growth.
So the very first foundational lesson the book gives us here is that humility is the undeniable gateway to growth.
Right. There's this beautiful paradox it presents.
Which is?
That learning truly begins at the precise point where pride ends.
When we finally stop trying to convince ourselves and everyone else that we know everything.
When we admit we don't have all the answers.
It's like a door swings wide open.
Yeah, it creates this essential opening for new insights to enter, for necessary correction to occur.
For us to start seeing things in a completely different light that wasn't possible when our view was obstructed by ego.
And this is absolutely critical, especially in any kind of professional or collaborative setting.
You can see that.
Just consider how often overconfidence, purely fueled by pride, leads directly to massive blind spots.
Like a leader convinced they know better than anyone.
Exactly. Who isn't genuinely open to input from their team, maybe input from people in the front lines who see things they don't.
They're almost guaranteed to make suboptimal decisions.
Simply because they're missing crucial information and perspectives that are right there.
So humility acts as a powerful countermeasure to this.
It keeps you perennially open, receptive, and connected to reality.
Which leads us directly to the second related lesson, and this one feels incredibly relevant in our current culture.
Which is?
Ego blocks education. This is a massive point.
Tell me more.
The book highlights how people often feel compelled to protect their carefully constructed self-image so fiercely.
That they are willing to sacrifice their own genuine development in the process.
Exactly. They prioritize looking competent to others or even to themselves.
Over the harder, slower, much more rewarding process of actually becoming more competent.
That distinction between performance and actual development is absolutely critical.
It really is. When your primary concern is appearing infallible, you instinctively shut down the very mechanisms designed to help you learn and grow.
Like what?
You avoid asking clarifying questions that might reveal you didn't understand something.
Right. You won't readily admit mistakes because that feels like an admission of failure.
You definitely won't actively seek out or welcome constructive feedback because that might highlight perceived weaknesses.
So countless valuable learning opportunities are just missed.
Yeah. Completely missed or shut down because ego is standing in the way.
And this doesn't just limit the individual, does it?
No. Leaders and team members stuck in this cycle dramatically limit the potential and growth of their entire group or organization.
Okay, here's where the pieces really start to connect in a powerful way.
Go on.
The book emphasizes that teachability, the actual ability and willingness to be taught, is deeply rooted in humility.
So it's not just being capable of learning.
It's about that active, ongoing willingness to seek out knowledge, to value what others have to offer.
And the book points out this includes valuing perspectives from people who might have less formal experience or a different background.
Yes, which is so important.
This insight is particularly potent in our modern, highly collaborative environments, wouldn't you say?
Definitely. Digital teams, cross-functional projects, even just building a stronger family unit.
When you operate from a place of humility, you can genuinely appreciate and value diverse perspectives.
You understand that a junior member might have a fresh insight.
Or someone from a completely different department might spot a pattern you missed.
This kind of radical openness, this fundamental teachability,
is what truly fosters innovation and inclusion.
Because it sends the message that everyone's input is potentially valuable.
Regardless of their job title, years of experience, or background.
So humility acts like a special lens, helping us see things we couldn't perceive before. And the book suggests this lens fundamentally changes how we view failure itself.
How so?
The fourth lesson the book highlights is that failure is a mirror, not a wall.
That's such a necessary and transformative reframe.
Instead of seeing failure as this massive, impassable obstacle,
a definitive and painful end to your efforts.
Humility helps you reinterpret it as feedback.
Like a mirror held up to your face?
Exactly. Reflecting back what happened, showing you specific aspects, your approach, assumptions, blind spots.
That absolutely require examination and learning.
It's information valuable, albeit sometimes uncomfortable, information.
That informs your future actions, rather than simply blocking them completely.
It shifts the focus from shame to investigation.
I like that.
And finally, a crucial point about influence and connection, also tied to humility.
Okay.
The humble person leads better.
This resonates so deeply, doesn't it? It taps into something fundamental about human connection and trust.
If you, as a leader or even just a team member, are open about your own learning process,
If you're not afraid to admit when you don't know something or when you've genuinely made a mistake,
you build incredible trust with the people around you.
absolutely, people are simply more naturally drawn to and willing to follow individuals who are authentic.
Who are open about their own imperfections and committed to learning alongside the team.
Compare that to a leader who feels they must project an aura of being completely flawless, untouchable.
Always right.
That kind of facade creates distance. It inhibits open communication.
And frankly makes the team terrified to take necessary risks or admit their own mistakes.
So humility in leadership is incredibly powerful. It cultivates a culture built on psychological safety, mutual respect, and shared learning.
So what does all this mean for you listening right now? The book doesn't just offer concepts.
It gives practical ways to apply this.
Exactly. Think back to a recent setback you faced, big or small. How did you honestly respond?
Was your immediate reaction driven by ego, getting defensive, looking for blame?
Or was there a space for openness, a flicker of curiosity about what you could potentially learn from it?
And this raises a really important, sometimes uncomfortable question.
Which is,
Where in your own life or work might you currently be pretending to know something you don't?
just to avoid feeling vulnerable or less than.
It's a subtle but powerful form of ego protection. And the book highlights how it actively hinders your development.
The book also suggests a powerful, structured practice to build this muscle of humility.
What's that?
Make it a non-negotiable weekly habit to list just one mistake you made that week.
No matter how small it seems.
Right. And then identify one concrete specific thing you learned because of making that mistake.
Just the simple act of naming it, owning it, and then intentionally extracting the lesson.
It's an incredibly potent exercise in applying this principle and retraining your brain.
Okay, so moving from humility, which sets the internal stage for learning.
The book then guides us to what it argues is the absolute necessary foundation upon which all learning must be built.
And that is,
Reality.
ah, yes, reality.
In our modern era, saturated with social media, curated lives, constructed personas,
Facing the unvarnished truth, especially the uncomfortable, inconvenient truth, feels almost like a radical act.
it's much easier to live in a filtered version of reality.
It is. And the book is unflinching in its message. Genuine, impactful learning is simply impossible until you are truly willing and able to confront the actual truth of your current situation.
Whether that's admitting a strategy isn't working
Recognizing a relationship is in trouble.
or acknowledging a habit is holding you back.
Growth, the book argues, absolutely demands an honest, clear-eyed assessment of the facts as they are.
Not as you might desperately wish they were or pretend them to be.
Because living in denial or constantly defaulting to blaming external factors,
Or just escaping into fantasy.
that might offer temporary relief, feel safe short-term.
But the book points out it's guaranteed to sabotage your long-term development.
And frankly, often deepens the pain in the long run.
Reality, even when it's unpleasant, is the only stable ground you have if your goal is to genuinely rebuild or pivot effectively.
You need to know where you actually are to figure out how to get where you want to go.
So the first fundamental lesson here is incredibly clear. Truth is the starting point of growth.
Yes, the core message is that all meaningful progress, personal or professional,
Absolutely has to begin with an honest, sometimes difficult, look at your current circumstances.
unfiltered and unvarnished.
It's perfectly illustrated by that analogy the book uses, the doctor and the patient one.
Oh, right. A doctor can't treat effectively without an accurate diagnosis.
They need to understand the problem as it actually exists.
In the same way, you need to accept your current limitations, acknowledge failures.
Before you can even begin the process of improving or charting a new path.
You absolutely must know your true starting point to chart a credible course forward.
Which starkly highlights the danger inherent in the second lesson the book presents.
That's his.
Denial feels safe, but it's dangerous.
Denial offers this seductive short-term comfort, doesn't it?
A temporary reprieve from facing something difficult.
But the book emphasizes with absolute certainty that this temporary comfort comes at the cost of sabotaging your long-term progress and potential.
We see examples of this everywhere, don't we?
All the time. The business leader ignoring declining sales figures.
Dismissing negative customer feedback.
The individual making excuses for harmful patterns in their behavior or relationships.
The book forcefully points out that this deliberate avoidance doesn't make the problem disappear,
All it does is prolong the pain, prevent any potential breakthrough.
and ultimately acts as a passive but incredibly effective form of self-sabotage.
This brings up a really important point for anyone who finds facing reality intimidating.
How can we look at the truth without it feeling like a brutal self-indictment?
Right. The third lesson directly addresses this critical nuance. Reality doesn't have to be harsh. It has to be honest.
Exactly. The book isn't advocating for wallowing in self-pity or relentless self-criticism.
That's not productive either.
Instead, it frames facing reality as taking stock with radical clarity. Yes.
But also with a degree of compassion for yourself.
It's about developing the capacity to look at a situation and say, factually, okay, this is what happened.
This is the part I played in it.
And now, with this honest information, here's how I can use it to learn and grow.
It's descriptive, not necessarily prescriptive. A factual taking in of information, not an emotional judgment of self-worth.
And this kind of honest self-assessment, this capacity to see things as they truly are,
Is fundamentally built upon the next key lesson. Self-awareness is a superpower.
the book suggests the starting point for facing external reality is cultivating an accurate view of your internal reality.
Developing deep self-awareness, understanding your strengths without arrogance, weaknesses without shame.
Recognizing recurring patterns, emotional triggers, default ways of thinking.
It's an incredibly powerful asset.
How do you actually build that level of self-awareness? The book mentions several practical methods.
Like journaling your thoughts and experiences.
Yes, or actively seeking feedback loops from trusted people.
Engaging in reflective conversations to see your blind spots.
These consistent practices help you develop a much clearer picture of yourself.
Which in turn directly fuels your capacity to make wiser choices and achieve better outcomes.
And once you possess that clear, honest picture of reality,
The book reveals you unlock a truly essential capability.
which is,
The ability to plan effectively and strategically.
Yeah.
That brings us to the final lesson in this section. Clarity invites strategy.
this is perfectly captured by the GPS analogy.
Right. When you miss a turn, the GPS doesn't give up.
It immediately recalculates based on your actual current location.
Not where it wished you were or where you should have been.
Accepting reality, embracing where you are right now, even if it's off course.
It's like that recalculation for your life or your work.
It allows you to intelligently reroute your career path, adjust goals, change habits.
Because you are finally working with accurate, real-world information. It turns potential detours into new pathways.
So what does consciously choosing to embrace reality look like in practice for you right now?
The book prompts us to reflect. Are there any difficult truths you are currently avoiding?
Maybe you're aware of them, but you're actively pushing them away. What's the underlying reason?
What specific discomfort or fear are you trying to shield yourself from?
And think about the last time you genuinely asked for feedback.
And truly listened without immediately becoming defensive.
That capacity to listen and take in information that might contradict your own view is a major test of your willingness to face reality.
The book also offers a really concrete, actionable practice.
What's
Set aside maybe just 15 or 20 minutes this week for a reality check journal entry.
Okay, ask yourself, what is genuinely working well? Be specific.
What absolutely isn't working, despite my efforts?
And based on those honest answers, what fundamentally needs to change?
Writing it down brings it out of vague anxiety and into undeniable reality, making it solvable.
Moving from the necessity of facing reality, the book then powerfully challenges us to take the next crucial step.
Taking responsibility.
This is perhaps one of the most challenging but ultimately liberating ideas.
In a culture where it often feels easy, even encouraged, to point fingers, deflect blame.
Make endless excuses.
The book's message about responsibility is a forceful call to reclaim your own agency and power.
It emphasizes unequivocally that actively owning your mistakes, your choices, your role in any outcome
Especially negative ones.
is the absolute non-negotiable first step towards any meaningful learning and growth.
Because, as the book insightfully points out, when you automatically default to blaming others,
You might get a fleeting moment of ego comfort.
but you simultaneously halt your own essential self-reflection and shut down personal learning,
True learners, according to the book, consistently look inward first.
even when external factors were undeniably involved.
They ask that powerful, sometimes uncomfortable question, regardless of anything else, what was my part in this?
And that critical question, what was my part, leads directly to the second, deeply empowering lesson.
Which is?
Responsibility empowers change.
The book describes this as a fundamental shift in personal power.
The very moment you can honestly look at a situation, especially a negative one, and say, okay, this was at least in part a result of my choices.
My actions, my decisions.
You instantly gain the capacity and the right to say, and therefore, here is how I will change things going forward.
Contrast that with the powerlessness you feel as a victim of circumstance.
Where everything bad feels like it's happening to you beyond your control.
Taking responsibility, even just your piece, is incredibly empowering.
It gives you back your agency, your ability to act and influence future outcomes.
It shifts you from passive recipient to active participant.
This principle is especially vital in leadership, which brings us to the third lesson.
Leadership demands accountability.
Yes. The book powerfully highlights that truly great leaders don't just claim credit when things go well.
They model responsibility by also publicly and genuinely owning their team's failures and setbacks.
This isn't about taking blame unfairly.
It's about cultivating a culture where learning from mistakes is paramount.
Where experimentation is encouraged and people aren't paralyzed by fear of punishment.
When a leader says, okay, this didn't work, I take responsibility, let's figure out what we learned.
That builds incredible trust, encourages openness about errors, and fuels collective learning.
The fourth lesson provides a crucial perspective on this.
What's that?
Mistakes aren't final, avoiding responsibility is.
The book clarifies a fundamental truth. Everyone makes mistakes. It's inherent.
That is not the defining factor.
What genuinely matters is how quickly, honestly, and maturely you take ownership.
The real danger isn't the error itself.
It's the decision to avoid responsibility for it, because that decision stops you cold.
It prevents extracting the lesson, correcting course, moving forward with intention.
And finally, a lasting benefit of this courageous act. Responsibility builds character.
The book argues that consistently choosing to own your life, your work, your choices,
Especially when it's hard.
fundamentally builds your integrity.
Think about it. People inherently respect individuals who stand in their truth.
Who admit their part when things go wrong, far more than those who evade fault.
It demonstrates maturity, self-awareness, honesty, earning genuine trust.
So how can you actively put this powerful principle into practice starting today?
The book prompts you to consider, where are you currently, perhaps unconsciously blaming others?
Where could you take more ownership? Be specific.
Pinpoint one specific situation that didn't go well recently.
Think about how taking full responsibility for your part would change things.
How you feel, how you respond, how you grow, what would that look like?
And the book suggests making this a conscious new habit.
After any mistake, big or small,
Immediately ask yourself, what was my part in this outcome?
then follow up by writing down or articulating one concrete thing you'll do differently next time.
This transforms taking responsibility from shame into an active, forward-looking learning practice.
Okay, so from reality and responsibility, the book logically shifts focus.
To where that learning energy should consistently be directed towards improvement.
Right. And we live in a world obsessed with instant gratification, quick wins.
Overnight success stories.
The book provides a necessary counter-perspective. Improvement isn't a single event.
It's a lifelong commitment, an ongoing mindset, a continuous process.
It reframes success not as reaching some static state.
But as engaging in consistent daily progression.
And the book suggests this shift actually relieves pressure.
Because you're focused on the process, the journey, the daily effort.
Rather than solely on the often distant, uncontrollable outcome, this focus sustains motivation.
The first key lesson underpinning this is foundational. Small steps make big impact.
Yes. The book emphasizes lasting results in habits, leadership, health, relationships.
Rarely come from massive, sweeping changes attempted all at once.
Instead, they are the cumulative result of consistent, often incremental, daily improvements.
It's the power of compounding those small gains over time that creates profound transformation.
The one extra difficult conversation, the 5 extra minutes, planning consistently.
This connects directly to the second lesson. Focus on the process, not the prize.
The book argues that sustainable improvement thrives when your focus is on the process of becoming better.
The discipline of the practice itself, rather than just achieving an external outcome.
Growth, according to the book, happens in the doing.
Embedded in the daily practice, the consistent effort, the learning from each attempt.
It happens in all those moments, not just the fleeting moment of achievement. The process is the improvement.
This mindset fundamentally changes how you interpret setbacks, right?
Exactly. Which brings us to the third lesson. Mistakes are tools for refinement.
Instead of seeing errors as reasons for shame or giving up,
The book encourages viewing them as valuable data points.
essential feedback mechanisms showing where your approach was flawed or needed adjustment.
This feedback, from outcomes or people, is presented as your most valuable teacher.
Providing the necessary information to make smarter decisions in the future.
Which brings us to the fourth lesson on consistency. Excellence is a habit, not an accident.
The book asserts excellence isn't primarily luck or innate talent.
Though talent helps.
Right. Excellence is the direct outcome of consistent, intentional, repetitive actions.
It requires structure, intention, discipline.
It's the daily practice, the deliberate routine, the focused work over time that builds it.
Talent might open the door, but habit walks through it and builds the house.
And finally, a crucial point for anyone leading others. Leaders must grow first to lead well.
The book is direct on this. A stagnant leader leads a stagnant team.
Personal commitment to growth isn't just nice to have, it's a fundamental duty of leadership.
If you aren't invested in your own development, you can't credibly expect your team to be.
You set the ceiling by your own growth.
So how can you translate this focus on continuous improvement into tangible action?
The book prompts reflection. Is there an area where you've sought a fix-fast solution?
Instead of committing to gradual improvement,
Consider, what single small routine could you realistically adopt right now?
that, if done consistently, would ensure steady improvement over time.
And the book suggests setting a concrete 30-day improvement plan.
Choose a specific skill you want to develop. Break it down.
Set realistic daily or weekly micro goals. Track your progress.
This transforms the abstract idea into an actionable plan with observable results.
Okay, after reality, responsibility, and improvement, the book highlights the essential fuel that sustains commitment.
Especially through setbacks. And that fuel is hope.
Yes, when you've faced significant failure, repeated setbacks.
Or just endured a long period of difficulty.
It's easy for motivation to falter, for despair to creep in.
To start questioning if the effort is even worth it.
The book powerfully argues that hope is the essential engine driving perseverance through those doubting times.
Without hope, the will to keep learning, keep improving, keep trying simply fades.
And the book clarifies what it means by hope. It's not naive, wishful thinking.
Or pretending everything is magically okay.
Instead, it defines hope as more robust and active. A confident, grounded expectation
Based on what's possible and what you're willing to work for.
that tomorrow genuinely can be better, more meaningful, or more successful than today.
It's both a necessary mindset and a pragmatic approach for anyone feeling stuck or overwhelmed.
So the first core lesson is straightforward but profound. Hope fuels forward motion.
When you cultivate and hold on to a genuine belief, even a small flicker, that better outcomes are possible.
That your continued efforts can make a difference.
That belief directly increases your willingness to try again after a loss.
It's that belief in possibility, that the future isn't just a reflection of the past.
That give you the internal strength to get back up. Without it, you stay down.
Yeah, which leads to the second important lesson, distinguishing types of positivity.
Realistic optimism beats blind positivity.
The book is careful here. It's not advocating ignoring difficulties or putting on a fake smile.
That kind of blind positivity is rooted in denial, just as dangerous as despair.
Hope, in contrast, is realistic. It looks squarely at difficulties, acknowledges challenges,
Faces current reality with clear eyes.
but, crucially, holds the simultaneous belief that through learning, effort, perseverance,
Those challenges can lead to something meaningful, something better.
it's optimism grounded in reality, fueled by belief in potential and agency.
The third lesson highlights what hope attaches to. Vision sustains effort.
The book emphasizes that individuals who maintain a clear, compelling, hopeful vision of the future
People with clear goals they genuinely believe are attainable.
are far more likely to stay motivated and resilient through tough seasons.
That clear mental picture of a better future, backed by belief.
Is an incredibly powerful builder of resilience. It gives a reason to keep going.
It's the light at the end of the tunnel.
This capacity for hope is particularly vital for leaders, which is the fourth lesson.
Hope is contagious in leadership.
Leaders play a crucial role in setting the emotional tone.
When leaders consciously model realistic hope, Not fake cheerfulness, but genuine belief plus willingness to face difficulties.
It provides a powerful anchor for the people they lead, especially amidst uncertainty.
It provides stability, reinforces shared purpose, helps counteract anxiety and fear.
And finally, a deeply empowering message about reclaiming potential.
Past failure does not predict future worth.
The book makes this point forcefully. Hope allows you to take control of your narrative.
Refuse to be defined solely by past setbacks.
What happened yesterday? Your failures. They're part of your history, yes.
But the book powerfully asserts they don't define what's possible for you in the future.
They only define your future if you allow them to, if you internalize them as identity, not outcome.
Hope says, that was then I learned, this is now, and the future is still open.
So how can you actively cultivate this kind of resilient hope?
The book suggests reflecting. What specific area have you lost hope in?
Just identifying it is a start. Then ask, what would it look like to choose to believe again? What would that enable?
Think about your daily habits. Are you actively engaging in practices that cultivate hope?
Like visualization, gratitude practice, setting compelling, attainable goals.
These are active ways to build a hopeful mindset.
And the book suggests seeking inspiration. Study individuals who navigated adversity with hope.
What habits did they use? What mindsets? How did they manage doubt?
Adopting just one or two of their strategies might strengthen your own capacity for hope.
With hope providing the motivation, the book shifts focus to the active pathway for learning.
Teachability.
The book offers a beautifully simple definition: the willingness to be taught.
And importantly, emphasizes this quality is independent of age, education, or experience.
You can be young or old, novice or expert. Teachability is a choice, a posture.
And this feels incredibly relevant today. We're swimming in information.
Unprecedented access to knowledge.
But the book argues access isn't enough. What truly differentiates is the desire and willingness to acquire, apply, integrate knowledge.
To grow beyond current understanding, the teachable person embodies humility, is fueled by curiosity.
And willing to step beyond the comfort zone of what they know.
Which makes the first key lesson incredibly pertinent. Being teachable is being adaptable.
The book directly links teachability to your ability to learn new things quickly.
And perhaps more critically, to unlearn old ways, outdated strategies, ineffective habits.
The book cites this capacity to learn and unlearn rapidly as a key differentiator, a superpower.
Especially in fast-paced, evolving industries. If you can't adapt, you can't keep pace.
Teachability is the core engine driving this essential adaptation.
The second lesson highlights the internal driver. Teachability requires curiosity.
The book emphasizes teachable individuals are fundamentally curious minds, not content with surface understanding.
They desire to explore, question, understand the why.
Curious minds ask insightful questions, challenge assumptions, seek new frameworks.
Rather than just information confirming existing beliefs.
Curiosity fuels faster, deeper learning, propelling you to the edge of your current knowledge.
And how do teachable people handle contradictory information or shortcomings?
That's the third lesson. Feedback is fuel.
Teachable people don't just passively receive feedback, they actively invite it.
They create systems and relationships for honest input, even when it's hard.
Because they've chosen growth over the comfort of feeling right.
They view constructive critique, even if painful, as a valuable gift.
Not a threat, but essential information fuel to refine, improve, accelerate learning.
A crucial counterpoint the book makes, relevant in credential-driven societies.
Is the fourth lesson. Credentials don't equal teachability.
Possessing degrees, certifications, or decades of experience doesn't automatically make someone open to learning.
In fact, the book suggests sometimes extensive experience can breed arrogance.
A false sense of having already arrived, knowing everything. This closed mindset is the opposite of teachability.
And finally, a powerful statement about impact. Teachable people make the best leaders.
The book argues compellingly that teams thrive under leaders committed, visible learners.
Leaders who listen, evolve their thinking, don't pretend to have all answers.
Teachability modeled in leadership fosters innovation, builds trust, ensures sustained excellence.
Everyone feels safe to learn, contribute, even make mistakes as part of collective learning.
So how can you honestly assess and improve your own teachability?
The book poses a thought-provoking question. When did you last genuinely change your mind based on something new learned?
Your answer might be telling.
Think about people you know who model teachability well. What specific behaviors do they exhibit?
Observing and imitating them can be powerful.
And the book suggests an actionable habit after every significant project or conversation.
Actively ask a trusted person for just one piece of constructive feedback.
Listen carefully, write it down, commit to taking action based on it.
This transforms feedback from discomfort into a tangible practice of teachability.
The book then turns its attention to something we instinctively avoid, but frames as a powerful teacher.
Adversity.
We're hardwired to steer clear, view it purely negatively.
But the book proposes a radical reframe. Adversity isn't just an obstacle, it's a catalyst.
Presented not to be avoided, but as a necessary trigger, often painful, yes.
That deepens wisdom in ways comfort never can, builds profound strength, sparks creativity.
Adversity reveals truths about ourselves, others, the world that ease hides.
Career setbacks, venture failures, job loss, health crises, tough times, strip away illusions.
They force us to confront reality and ourselves in ways comfortable times don't.
This leads to the first key lesson. Adversity exposes strength and weakness.
When under immense pressure, facing crisis, you confront your true capability.
See what you're made of, clarify core priorities, reveal character.
It acts like a stress test. Strips away pretense, shows fragility and unexpected strength.
The second lesson is perhaps hardest to embrace mid-struggle. Pain is a prompt for growth.
The book suggests the very discomfort of adversity pushes us out of inertia, stagnation.
Out of comfortable routines no longer serving us.
It advocates a shift in internal questioning. Instead of, why me?
Pivot to proactive questions. Okay, this is difficult, but what now?
And crucially, what can I possibly learn from this painful experience?
This shifts your posture from victimhood to inquiry.
And this process of moving through difficulty builds a vital quality.
The third lesson. Resilience is built, not inherited.
People aren't born with fixed resilience. It's not genetic.
Resilience is developed, forged, strengthened over time.
Built not by avoiding hardship, but consciously navigating through it.
Requiring reflection to extract lessons and almost always relying on support.
Like a muscle. Stronger the more it's challenged in a supported way.
Adversity also shines a harsh light on connections, the fourth lesson.
Adversity unites or divides.
Hard times, stress relationships, family, friends, teams.
How people respond under pressure, pull together, or fracture reveals the health of connections.
Adversity forges unbreakable bonds or exposes hidden cracks.
And finally, a key insight about development. Growth happens on the edge of comfort.
The book emphasizes valuable things. Leadership, creativity, character expand when stretched.
Your most potent growth zones are right next door to discomfort zones.
If never uncomfortable, never challenged, you're likely not growing significantly.
Adversity often pushes you into that necessary zone.
So how do you consciously engage with adversity as a catalyst?
The book prompts reflection. Think back to past adversity. How did it shape a strength you now value?
What concrete lessons did you absorb?
Consider your typical response to challenges today. Shut down, panic, dig in.
What aspect would you like to consciously change?
The book suggests adopting a mindset. Adversity is a classroom.
When in a challenge, write down at least 3 lessons or insights learned because of it.
This forces your mind to look for learning, even within pain, transforming suffering into education.
Building on adversity, the book hones in on a specific type of challenge.
Problems.
The book argues problems aren't just irritations to be avoided.
They are invitations to innovate, grow, lead.
In virtually every field, influential, successful people are skilled, proactive problem solvers.
The book encourages a shift from reactive avoidance to proactive embrace.
Seeing problems as inherent parts of the journey, valuable opportunities.
This shift changes response to stress, transforms obstacles into stepping stones.
The first key lesson is straightforward but profound. Problem solving is a core success skill.
The ability to analyze challenges, understand root causes, devise solutions.
Is central to progress and success in business and personal life.
Demonstrating this builds immense trust, creates progress, opens doors.
The second lesson offers a powerful perspective shift. Every problem carries potential.
The book points out innovative ideas often emerge from grappling persistently with difficult problems.
Instead of frustration, look for patterns, underlying causes, possibilities within the challenge.
Every problem, viewed correctly, contains seeds of its solution or new opportunity.
Your internal perspective is critical, leading to the third lesson.
Mindset shapes your response to problems.
The book contrasts 2 approaches. Seeing problems as crushing burdens
Leads to burnout, stress, overwhelm.
Seeing them as growth moments, puzzles, opportunities.
Fosters courage, creativity, energy. The problem might be the same. Mindset determines impact.
This is particularly visible in leadership, the fourth lesson.
Great leaders run toward problems.
Leaders who avoid problems hope they resolve themselves.
They're creating much larger problems down the line.
Leaders facing challenges head-on, proactively addressing difficulties.
Earn deepest respect, produce real, sustainable solutions. Avoiding problems creates stagnation. Confronting them creates progress. And finally, a benefit of engaging complexity. Complex problems build strategic thinking.
Wrestling with difficult, ambiguous issues isn't just about the immediate solution.
The process itself, dissecting complexity, evaluating variables, devising paths, develops high-level skills.
Sharpens critical thinking, improves decision-making under pressure, cultivates long-term vision, essential traits.
So how do you shift perspective, become a better problem learner?
The book prompts consideration. What recurring problem have you been avoiding?
Hoping it fixes itself, or accepting it as unchangeable.
Identify it, then. What's one small, proactive step you could take this week to address it?
Not a full solution, just one step forward.
And think about fostering a problem-solving culture, a problem-solving lab.
Where problems aren't feared, but welcomed, shared openly, explored creatively for solutions and learning, creating a safe space to be challenged.
The book doesn't shy away from uncomfortable realities. It directly addresses bad experiences.
And the human tendency is often to want to forget, erase, pretend they never happened.
But the book offers a counterargument. Bad experiences aren't permanent barriers or defining scars.
They are potential mirrors, offering invaluable insight, wisdom, perspective, unavailable from success alone.
In an age pressuring curated perfection, hiding pain.
We risk missing the rich wisdom and resilience from embracing and processing bad experiences.
This isn't about dwelling in negativity. It's a framework to examine difficult pasts.
Through honest reflection, potential healing, gaining perspective for a wiser future.
The first key lesson is fundamental. You can't learn from what you won't face.
Denying, ignoring, burying bad experiences doesn't lessen their impact.
In fact, the book argues avoidance often delays healing, prevents growth.
Owning experiences, acknowledging them, recognizing impact, facing reality is the necessary first step.
To reframe constructively and extract lessons.
And that reframing process is highlighted in the second lesson. Reflection turns pain into perspective.
A profound truth. Experience alone doesn't automatically teach.
It is evaluated experience, coupled with conscious reflection, that teaches.
You have to sit with discomfort, ask deeper questions about pain, choices, circumstances.
To find meaning, gain clarity, understand embedded lessons, that process transforms negative events into perspective.
This leads to an empowering message. Your past doesn't define you.
The meaning you choose to assign to past experiences determines their lasting impact.
You are not, the book assures, the sum of your worst moments or biggest failures.
You have agency to interpret, learn, choose how they shape you. Past informs, doesn't dictate unless you let it.
The fourth lesson highlights hidden treasure. Lessons lurk in losses.
Bad experiences often serve as powerful indicators,
Revealing faults in systems, beliefs, relationships we were unaware of.
These painful revelations provide crucial clues for building a wiser, stronger future, showing where adjustments are needed.
And finally, a transformative act. Storytelling brings strength.
Sharing lessons learned, wisdom gained from bad experiences.
Has profound healing and empowering impact.
Articulating your journey helps others, solidifies your own growth, turning wounds into wisdom for self and community. So how do you engage constructively with your own bad experiences?
Reflect deeply. Is there a difficult past experience you've avoided processing?
What might it still be trying to teach you?
The book suggests writing a growth through pain story about it.
Outline factually, reflectively. What happened? What did you learn? How are you different?
And consider talking to someone trusted about it. Share your story. Ask for perspective.
Others might see patterns or strengths you can't, blinded by lingering pain.
As we near the culmination, the book brings us to a fundamental, often challenging concept.
Change.
The book doesn't sugarcoat it. Change is the unavoidable cost of growth.
You can't learn, evolve, improve without letting go of something familiar, old ways, habits, identities.
Something has to shift for something new to emerge. in a world of speed and disruption.
Resistance to change isn't just discomfort, it's a significant liability.
Conversely, actively welcoming change, embracing it with curiosity,
It is fundamentally transformational. The more skilled you become at navigating change.
the more agile, resilient, relevant you remain.
The first key lesson is direct. Growth requires letting go.
You can't hold on to old beliefs, habits, identities, and grow into something new.
You have to release the old comfort zone, way of seeing yourself to create space for the new. An essential dynamic process involving loss.
The second lesson addresses the primary barrier. Change is often emotional before it's practical.
Resistance often stems not from logic, but deep-seated fear.
Fear of unknown, losing comfort, not being capable, failure.
The book emphasizes acknowledging, naming, processing emotions attached to change, not just focusing on practical steps. Manage the heart, not just the plan.
The third lesson reinforces this is unavoidable for growth. You can't grow without risk.
All meaningful change involves stepping out of certainty into unguaranteed outcomes. Inherent uncertainty.
Requires courage, and courage is an absence of fear.
It's acknowledging fear, feeling it, choosing to move forward despite it. Embracing change requires active courage.
The fourth lesson counters perceived safety. Staying the same has a cost too.
Inaction might feel safest, but comes with a price. It erodes potential.
Choosing stagnation has real, profound, long-term consequences.
Being left behind, missing opportunities, feeling stuck. Cost of inertia is often higher than cost of attempting change.
And finally, an empowering perspective. Change is a skill you can build.
Adaptation isn't a fixed trait. You can learn, practice, get better at it.
The more you consciously navigate change, the more natural it becomes. Flexibility becomes a superpower for leadership in life.
So where are you currently resisting change, even knowing it's needed? Name that area.
The book suggests a practical exercise. Rate a cost-benefit list for that resistance.
What are you gaining by avoiding change? Comfort, predictability. What are you losing? Growth, opportunity, fulfillment. Seeing hidden costs motivates.
And a change challenge. Identify an outdated habit, system, mindset.
Intentionally replace it. Track progress, observe results, frame it as an experiment in embracing intentional change.
This entire journey culminates in the ultimate value gained from consistently learning.
Maturity.
The book defines maturity not by age or experience, but the developed ability to reflect.
Extract lessons. Respond to challenges with wisdom, perspective, intentionality, not just reacting.
In a world fixated on speed and youth, maturity is presented as a quieter, dapper success.
Characterized by perspective, emotional regulation, influence born from learned growth through difficulty.
The first key lesson is foundational. Maturity is measured by response, not reaction.
Distinguishes impulsive reactors from those who pause, process, choose a thoughtful response, even under pressure.
That intentional pause, that cultivated space between stimulus and response, is where maturity resides.
The ability to choose actions and attitude, not be controlled by feelings or circumstances, leading yourself first.
The second lesson connects learning to influence. Learners become leaders.
We trust and follow those who've openly navigated hardship, faced shortcomings, emerged with hard-won insight, humility, wisdom.
Leadership born from genuine experience, learning through difficulty, carries different weight and credibility.
People are drawn to wisdom from walking through fire.
Third lesson, maturity means seeing the bigger picture.
Mature individuals understand setbacks are temporary phases in a longer journey.
They can zoom out, see challenges in broader context of path, goals, values.
Navigate difficulties with resilience, purpose, knowing this moment isn't the whole story.
Fourth lesson highlights the outcome. Character is the outcome of learning.
Strong character isn't innate. It's built day by day, decision by decision.
Through repeatedly choosing growth over comfort, integrity over expediency, responsibility over convenience, the most valuable asset gained.
And finally, the fifth lesson underscores impact. Maturity attracts trust and opportunity.
People value individuals who remain grounded, thoughtful, effective under pressure.
This quiet strength earns deep respect, influence, opens doors long-term, signals reliability, wisdom, steady hand.
So, as we bring this exploration to a close, it invites you to consider your own journey towards maturity.
Think about your last challenge. Did you react emotionally or respond wisely?
What small step could you consciously choose differently next time?
Consider someone you admire for their maturity.
Yeah.
What habits or responses could you adopt?
And finally, the book suggests setting a specific maturity goal.
Choose one character trait, patience, empathy, discernment to develop this month.
Practice it daily, track reflections, transforms abstract idea into conscious pursuit.
So, we've journeyed through the wisdom in sometimes you win, sometimes you learn.
Exploring how embracing humility, reality, responsibility, improvement, hope, teachability, adversity, problems, and change.
Fundamentally transforms our perspective on life's inevitable challenges.
These aren't just concepts. They offer a practical toolkit for navigating a complex world.
With greater resilience, intentional emotional control, deeper purpose.
A roadmap for transforming not winning from dead ends into essential opportunities for growth, strength, wisdom.
Here's a final thought for you to consider as you move forward.
How might consciously applying just one of these powerful ideas from the book this week
Practicing humility, facing a truth, taking responsibility.
change the way you approach a challenge or setback you are currently facing?
Just one small shift could potentially unlock significant learning and propel you forward.
This service is brought to you by Michael Afanga.
Thank you for joining us for this exploration of how sometimes when you don't win, you truly have the profound opportunity to learn.